Hello guys and gals, me Mutahar. Today we're going to be talking about a little bit of a war today. A war between YouTube and ad blockers. Now ladies and gentlemen, I think it's safe to say that a good chunk of you guys and gals are probably using adblock right now watching this video. Now listen, I'm not going to judge you. I honestly could not care personally, okay? I'm just thankful you guys take time out of your day to watch my videos. If the ads annoy you, well, I think that's more YouTube's fault or the internet's fault. Trust me, I know about the double ads. I know about the scam ads all the time, okay? To give you a great idea of like how much I know about those scam ads, you could be watching one video on YouTube and it'll basically link you to advertisements about free classes to make passive income from the top affiliate offers using AI bots. Now, of course, when you look at these actual advertisements that are actually sponsored videos, earnings and income representations made by Simon Woods and his students are aspirational statements only of your earning potential. Anytime you see stuff like that, you know you're walking in to a really shady operation. But of course, going to their website over here, this is a legit ClickBank trusted secure site that YouTube itself led me to. And yeah, do you want to get a share of that $12 billion pie? $12 billion, please give me a little bit. Over the last 3 years, I generated exactly 5.6. Okay, all right, I'm just going to stop it right here. This website, all of them literally look the same. When you got to have disclaimers up the ass on your website, maybe it's not something we should get into. How we legally hijack. You know, when you got to use the words how we legally hijack, I'm just saying, weird indeed. But of course, there's also other things where YouTube will lead me down dark rabbit holes and try to get me to get free Robux, for instance, like actual legitimate scam advertising. And the thing is, YouTube feels like, I feel like YouTube has two sets of rules. If you upload content like this to the platform, you can't ever, scam your audience. You can't ever promote scams or deceptive downloads, which is great. But it seems like when you're in the YouTube ad partner program or like the ad program and you basically send out an ad campaign, you can pretty much get away with almost everything. At least that's what it seems like. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, according to YouTube, using ad block can actually be a violation of their terms of service. What I love about this is the largest subreddit, one of the largest ones, r/YouTube, has actually devolved into complete pandemonium. One of the top posts in the last 3 weeks has been safe solutions to avoid ads on YouTube and avoid the ad blocker. So remember, YouTube says blocking ads is against the TOS. The largest subreddit about YouTube has the top post about how to violate their own goddamn terms of services. If that's not wild to you, then I don't know what is. But of course, nearly every post is talking about how ad blocks and how to go through multiple hoops, which browser to use, which ad block, which VPN solution, how to flush your DNS, and eventually looking into actual data privacy laws to kind of slap YouTube in the face. So again, a lot of these people are even protesting YouTube Premium, which a lot of people say is a great deal. I personally don't have it. I don't need it. I don't even use ad blocks personally, just because I'm pretty indifferent to looking at an ad. I usually scroll by them, or I wait the 5 seconds to skip the ad. That's just me personally. One of the largest solutions to this is apparently people using like uBlock origins. And this is where I want to actually look into the weird hypocrisy of YouTube. So for instance, on their Chrome web store right now, you can actually find multiple different types of ad blockers out there. And some of them are actually featured by Google. For instance, this one right here, AdBlock Plus, says it blocks YouTube ads, pop-ups, and fights malware with 179,000 reviews. So I just want to ask the question here. How is it that YouTube can say YouTube blocking ads is against TOS, right? That's there. And then Google's actual other product, the Chrome extension store, is literally letting you download a featured ad blocking tool that blocks YouTube ads. It's almost like getting banned for this on YouTube is like you could make a case that YouTube is literally entrapping you to get your account banned. And again, that's just one of the weird things that I've seen about this kick up. Now, obviously, this has sparked a bit of a cat and mouse game. See, how does ad block work, right? This is something that I wish more people really understood. Ad blocking is not some crazy magic. The way that an ad blocker works is when you open up a website like, for instance, theverge.com. You'll notice they've got articles that you can click on that'll tell you about the Steam Deck OLED, Netflix's Avatar, but if you scroll down, you'll find an ad. Now this ad is for the Home Depot, and the Home Depot is literally close to me. It'll give you ads for things that are relevant to you, that are relevant in your country. But these ads don't come from this website. They actually come from, if you look down into their actual sources, they do come from actual ad networks. Some of these can be from Google, some of them can be from Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook. A lot of the big tech companies allow you to basically install their tools so you can distribute online advertising through them. So you make a little bit of money, they make a little bit of money, but they also have their applications and tools and crawlers on your website. So when you connect to a website like The Verge, and let's say that you never want to interact with Facebook, Google, or any of these companies, because you connect to their websites and they have some of these big tech company tools running on their site, you are inadvertently still giving up your data. So for instance, if Facebook's ad tools were running on any website and you didn't want anything to do with Facebook or Marky Mark, connecting to that site would still give up portions of your browser fingerprint, yes, key intricate details, send them over to Facebook, and they could still profile you without you ever interacting with them or building a profile. That's just how the internet works. It's invasive, it invades on your privacy, and that's why I always promote things like virtual machines. I always promote a lot of people to go through specialized browsers to cover up their fingerprint as much as possible. Because why should you give up your data for no real good reason? So now that you know how an ad blocker works, how does an anti-ad blocker work? So the way that an anti-ad blocker works is by actually going through and running JavaScript on your system in many cases, and running scripts that basically check if your browser is blocking those ads. So one real small one is written over here: how to detect ad block in plain JavaScript with a few lines of code. This was posted by a researcher or a coder in 2022, September 10th. And this is where they talk about it. In a nutshell, you need to add a fake advertisement div to your website and check if it's visible or not. So for instance, they add an ad box to the top right corner of the website here. So they also add aria hidden equals true so that they don't show this to any users that are using things like accessibility tools. And once the page is loaded, it checks whether that fake advertisement div is actually visible or not. And this is just one of the many ways that anti-ad blockers work. They check for how an ad blocker detects and shuts down websites. The way that an ad blocker shuts down websites is it goes through a web page and it looks at all of the calls to these advertising networks like Google ads, like Facebook ads. You know, if you go to uBlock Origin, which right now is one of the most popular ad blockers in the world, they call themselves not just an ad blocker, but a wide spectrum content blocker. So again, the way that this stuff works is as soon as you load up a web page, it's going to look through if you're communicating with ad domains. It'll immediately start blacklisting them, killing your connections, because it's basically building an entire internet block list just for the ad networks. But of course, it's not just blocking those ad networks, it's blocking things like canvas images showing up in various parts of the web page. So it's going beyond just blocking domains. But of course, for everything that this does, it triggers anti-ad blockers into constantly fighting with it. And so you get into this cat and mouse game, and that's exactly the war that YouTube is embroiled in right now. To give you an idea, Google is currently the first most visited website in the world, with around 87 billion views in the last month. And of course, YouTube is sitting at around 32.7 billion page visits in the last month too, making it the second largest website globally. So obviously YouTube's got a lot of traffic. And one of the most important parts about the story is YouTube needs to be able to be profitable, or at least break even. YouTube has for the last year been experimenting with ways to save money. And the way that they're experimenting with saving money is by kind of locking off higher quality bit rates to certain users for a little bit and running this anti-ad blocker campaign. See, ad blocking must be so financially fucked for YouTube that they are going to these extreme efforts to annoy the actual user. It takes a lot for any tech company or agency to actually start annoying the end user like this, because if you start annoying people, they probably will just click off your website and never use it again. But what this has done is basically forced YouTube to put some of these last holdouts, these last ad blockers, into actually upping their game even more. So the cat and mouse game that I described earlier has basically forced the ad blocking software to just get stronger. So again, think about it like this. A lot of big multiplayer games nowadays have anti-cheats that are running at your kernel level. Because of how bad cheating software has become, it has forced game developers and anti-cheat developers to be more invasive on your system anyways. Because again, if you're not invasive and you don't actually fight these guys, you don't fight fire with fire, then you're going to lose the battle, right, so to speak. And this is ultimately a bad thing, right, for the actual end user, because at the end of the day, when you're running in between this cat and mouse game, your privacy, your computer safety, that's the first thing to be thrown out the window. Neither side necessarily cares about it. Although one could say that the ad blockers maybe put a lot more effort into caring about your privacy individually than big tech companies like Google, Facebook, Microsoft, Apple, right? I'm pretty sure that case could be made. But the point of the matter is, ad blocking software and anti-ad blocking methods are currently at a war right now, and YouTube and Google are kind of the canary in the coal mine. They're at the forefront of this war, and that's pretty much where we're sitting at. Now, right now, beyond uBlock, there's other entire things. For instance, Pi-hole, which is network-wide ad blocking. This, again, to show you just the cat and mouse situation. There are people installing actual ad blockers at the router level of their systems. People run this in Docker virtual containers just so they can have a network-wide block of all ad domains. Again, this is to show you how this fight has become more than anything. This is a massive war on the internet between advertisers, ad blockers, and, of course, the anti-ad blocking systems out there. Now, I don't think we can ever live in a world where AdBlock doesn't exist. People are going to be using it, and I totally understand why. At the beginning of the video, I showed you scam advertisements. While I don't personally care about ad blockers, I'm not going to judge you, and I get why that exists. YouTube does not put enough to block those scam advertisements. And that's one of the reasons why I have no sympathy for them running these anti-ad blocking campaigns. Because if you can't stop scams 100% on your system, these people absolutely have a reason to protect themselves from scams that are promoted by Google, by Facebook, by some of these websites through their own ad networks. One of the things that's so wild about this, though, is YouTube could potentially be breaking the law by how invasive their anti-ad blocking techniques have gotten. So one of the posts on their Reddit was basically one person sharing their feedback to Google. Now, this is a total Reddit moment, by the way. Go fuck yourself. Nobody likes you. We will use Pornhub instead if we have to. Okay, did I forget? You are breaking EU law by running JS spyware on our computer. So JS is JavaScript, the spyware, some of that code I showed you earlier. I wouldn't say that it's spyware. I think maybe using the term potentially unwanted program is more applicable. Spyware sounds like it's really, 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 really dangerous, all completely malicious, which in this case, it's really not. YouTube is basically checking, like most websites, if you have ad blockers enabled. And it's promoted people like privacy advocates like Alexander Hanf, who's written an actual complaint to Europeans, the EU's like Data Protection Commission about this. In 2016, I wrote to the EU Commission for clarification in relation to the use and detection of ad blockers in web browsers under Article 5.3 of 2002 58 EC. The Commission confirmed that use of such technology would require prior informed consent. So again, the Commission confirmed in writing that the detection of an ad blocker would constitute unlawful storage of information. The script, the JavaScript, used to do the detection, and access to information, the detection of an ad blocker, already stored in the terminal equipment of an end user. So in recent weeks, YouTube, Alphabet, the company that owns Google and YouTube, have started to deploy ad block detection technologies unlawfully without consent and are using such technologies to block access to their platform. This is illegal. I call upon the DPC to take action against YouTube. So for a few people who have said that this is illegal necessarily, I want to show you exactly what law it seems that we're getting to over here. So this actually covers the e-privacy rules in the EU right now. So again, when it comes to this mandate, let's look at exactly what the law says. Under the Council mandate, the regulation will cover electronic communications content transmitted using publicly available services and networks, and metadata related to the communication. Metadata includes, for example, information on location, time, recipient of communication. But what's more important for us here is as the user's terminal equipment, which is your computer, and the web browser that is on your computer, including both hardware and software, may store highly personal information such as photos and contacts list. The end user should have a genuine choice on whether to accept cookies or similar identifiers, making access to a website dependent on consent to the use of cookies for additional purposes as an alternative to a paywall will be allowed if the user is able to choose between that offer or an equivalent offer by the same provider that does not involve consenting to cookies. And according to other pieces of the law too, they also talk about these cookies that include pixels, web beacons, JavaScript, other means of storing or accessing information on the device, including from other services. What the most important part about the situation is the concept of consent, right? And it should be readily apparent when these companies or these organizations are storing information on your system first and foremost. Into some of the privacy laws that are being introduced, terminal equipment of users of electronic equipment networks, and any information stored on such equipment are part of a private sphere of users requiring protection from the EU's convention and protection of human rights and fundamental freedoms. So-called spyware, web bugs, and identifiers, and other similar devices that can enter the user's terminal without their knowledge in order to gain access to information, which I guess would be if you're using an ad blocker or not, from what I understand, to store hidden information or to trace the activities of the user, and may seriously intrude upon the privacy of these users. The use of such devices should be allowed only for legitimate purposes with the knowledge of the user's concerned. So again, consent is very much an important factor in the situation. And I think YouTube can pretty much get by that because they can claim that ad blocking is illegitimate in their eyes, and they obviously want to be profitable. They want you to get rid of your ad blockers. That might be legitimate to explain, and as long as they give you the consent, I don't think the EU laws are necessarily going to stop them. Now, what the situation has done, in my opinion, is not just made people think about privacy laws, but it's actually, YouTube's war has strengthened the ad blockers. If you kind of look at this like bacteria and antibiotics, if the advertisers were the bacteria, the antibiotics are the actual ad blockers. Now, of course, you can build your antibacteria, you can design it, but eventually if you use it too much, that bacteria gets strong and strong and strong. And eventually it becomes super bacteria. And that, ladies and gentlemen, might be when the internet is truly fucked beyond belief. But till then, ladies and gentlemen, the war on ad blocks goes on. And it's a war that is currently run into attrition. It's run between multi-billion-dollar companies and people that are just willing to not pay for premium. There's actually people willing to pay for general ad blockers all over the world per month than rather pay for one service. Maybe that's a service issue, like Gabe Newell said. I don't really care. At the end of the day, ad blocking is an interesting war for me to see. It's a hill that plenty of people are taking to heart, and I'm personally at least interested in how far YouTube and Google are willing to go. Maybe it gets to a point where throwing engineers and money at it just becomes way too much of a time investment, and they might as well deal with ad blockers because you just can't get rid of them one way or the other. That said though, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike if you dislike it. I am out.